Well, let's review. So I'm back at home where I have hot coffee. So first of all, the food bag that I took this time for the overnighter was actually a dry bag, right? It's not really intended to be a food bag. This is the sort of thing that boaters use, kayakers and rafters, you know. Put whatever you want to keep dry in this thing, and it folds like so and buckles, right? And then it's got this loop so that you could even tie it and have it hanging outside the boat, and all the stuff that you want to keep dry put in there. So it's definitely waterproof, and at least that helped when we had unanticipated and unforecasted light rain. But the thing is that dry bag, it's too bulky, it's not collapsible enough, even for a long hike. I don't think I'd want to use that. So I probably won't even use it again on an overnighter. For now, I'll stick with this, which is not a proper food bag. I don't even know where this came from. I'm not sure what it was originally, but at least, you know, it's got the loop, and then it doesn't close that tightly, so I usually kind of fold it around and tie this string to itself, and then but I need to also have a waterproof bag inside here to protect the food, especially when I hang it. But the capacity of this thing is not so great, so I'm going to have to get a proper food bag that is lightweight, waterproof, and has the capacity I would need to be on the trail for, you know, several days. So now the coffee concentrate, testing that out for the first time. That worked well. Okay, so the little shampoo bottle, we'll be using that again and taking that on the trail. Now on this hike there were a couple of things that I decided not to bring along. I didn't decide until I got to the car and was packing the backpack. One was the Nikon camera that I'm filming with now. I could have taken that for an overnighter, but I wouldn't take it for really longer than that, just because it's bulky and it's heavy. And also the battery doesn't last that long, maybe 4 hours or so before it's dead and needs to be recharged. I had a you know, sort of like a bug or mosquito head net that I haven't even opened yet. That was there in case I might need it. That'll get opened eventually and used sometime, except that how I'm going to wear it, see, I don't usually have a hat with a bill, and so how exactly I'm going to wear that I haven't figured out. Emergency blanket, which I didn't need. I mean, I didn't really come close to needing it, but I was a little bit cold, just a tad cold overnight, and could have used one more layer of clothing. We do have rattlesnakes. Part of the instructions are here. This cost me $9. Hopefully that's money that went right down the drain. So basically, you open this thing up, and there are the instructions in here, and then there is also this tube of some kind of antiseptic or something. And what you want to do is pull this. If you were bitten, you would pull this out, and you notice it has some stuff at this end of it. You'd want to turn this around and reinsert that, and then it's got a dot right here, and that indicates where you're supposed to squeeze and crush this thing. And what that will do is release this antiseptic or whatever it is into the, it'll saturate the end of this thing so that you can then apply it to the wound. In the meantime, you can have it in here like so. These are suction cups, so you know, you can like squeeze them and, you know, apply suction to the wound site, and the other one can function that way as well. It makes a smaller suction cup basically. And then inside here there's sort of a string, so that you can pull out. The venom travels through the lymph system, and let's say you're a bit on your ankle, then above your ankle you'd want to use that string and tie it up kind of like a tourniquet, but tie it kind of tightly so that just inhibits the flow of venom up your legs. And if the wound starts to discolor and there's bruising and that kind of thing, and you see that coming up your legs, then you're supposed to apply it higher. I will say that the part of the instructions where it indicated that you were supposed to do this was not very clear at all. It took me and another person reading it and thinking about it and looking at this to figure out to do that. So now I know that, and now, if I should need to use this, if I've been bitten, I don't have to, go through all that. I have an idea of what I'm supposed to do, and I can get started right away. Now, of course, rattlesnakes, they are considerate enough to warn you when you're too near, and they don't want you to come any nearer, so just don't come any nearer, right? But the thing is, there are a couple of issues. One is that you could kind of stumble upon one unexpectedly, and it doesn't know you're coming fast enough, and you sort of surprise it. One thing to remember is normally it will be in a sunny area and it'll be elongated because it's trying to soak up the sun. When it coils itself is when it is able to strike. If it's stretched out, it can't bite you because it can't move fast enough to do that. It has to coil itself to make itself like a spring and then go boing and lunge toward you. So if it's not coiled, there's less danger. But it'll coil itself and shake its rattle if it feels threatened. Basically just stay away. But one of the problems that some hikers face is that it may be very close to the trail or on the trail, and there's no good way around it. I think I would just wait it out, and even if I had to wait a couple of hours for the thing to move, I think I'd probably be willing to do that. I'm just not interested in bothering the snake at all. I understand that may be easier said than done. You could be in a situation where you really need to get down the trail for whatever reason, and but anyway, as I say, hopefully this is a completely wasted purchase, and it was dead weight in the pack because I didn't need it, and that's good, but I'll still be taking it. In terms of a donut hole through hike, I've been talking about that and thinking about it. You may remember my first idea for a through hike was the Girard Trail, a 36-mile loop in Oil Creek State Park. The problem I decided with that trail is you can only camp in 2 spots along there, which means you're committing yourself, leaving one camping area and getting to the other. You're committing yourself to getting all the way there, okay, on the second day. If I could get there early and then just have a lot of time to kill before, passing the night and getting started the next day. Or I could get there late and I don't happen to make it there before dark, and I gotta, set up in the dark when I get there. So I don't like either of those. So the timing issue, I like the flexibility of a trail where you can stop whenever you're ready and you can camp anywhere. But recently I've been thinking, I don't know, maybe the Girard Trail would still be a pleasant experience. One nice thing is they have the bear boxes there, so you don't have to hang the food bag. And there are restrooms there, and there's firewood available, and you can build a fire if you want. So I'll think about it. I may end up doing that one anyway. But my focus switched to the Donut Hole Trail. But that trail is no joke. That thing is rugged, and it's got a lot of ascents and descents, and they are steep. The V was one of the worst things. It's like, I can do without that. I don't need any trail to have a V like that, where you approach, you're on a plateau, and then you start gently sloping downward, and then you get to a deep gorge where there's a creek at the bottom of it, and the trail just makes a V shape right down to the water and then up the other side. Ugh, are you kidding me? So the question is, how much of that does the Donut Hole Trail have? If you took that out, everything else I had to deal with, I think I'm okay with. I didn't particularly like the crossing of Cougar Run with those logs that are across there because they're a little bit bouncy and, that made me a little uncomfortable, but I can deal with that. Let's say I have to do one crossing like that each day. All right, I can deal with that. But if I have to do 3 of those V's every day, whew. But you know, it's funny. Um, I almost, after having to do that V on the way out and on the way back, I almost thought, you know what, this rules out the Donut Hole Trail for me as a through hike. You know, there are other trails. I don't have to contend with that stupid thing. I'm not doing it. But today, that was yesterday. Today, I'm like, I still want to do it. I still want to do that trail. I just don't want to have to do like 3 of those V's every day, because that's just too much. And I think thanks to that V, I've got blisters. I got a blister on each foot, on the ball of the foot just below the big toe, from the pressure of those steep hillsides. Going up and going down, it's the same sort of pressure on your foot. And I blame the V on the 2 blisters that I have. Now, if I'd only done it once and hadn't had to do it the next day too, plus the other steep ascents and descents, I probably would be okay. But that's something I'll have to think about for a Donut Hole Trail through hike, is the possibility of blisters and what I can maybe do to prevent them or treat them if I do get them. How did everything else work out? The tent was great. That was my first overnighter with that tent. I had set it up before, but I hadn't actually used it yet. And the tarp underneath it, I think, was a good idea, and that worked out well. You know, the sleeping pad and the blanket, that works fine. I gotta remember a pillow next time. That's the main thing. So there's the wrap up. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more adventures.